the story of a noble woman who lived her life in elegance and honor. She was admired by all. Edele Lancaster, the perfect Duchess of the powerful Lancaster family. From childhood, she was taught to be graceful, obedient, and strong. She fulfilled her duty without question, standing proudly beside her husband as his loyal wife. But fate showed her no mercy. Her husband's rebellion shattered everything. His name was erased, his family destroyed, and she, once respected by the empire, became nothing more than the wife of a traitor. One night, as kingdoms clashed and fires raged, she sat alone in her chamber, whispering, "Please take me into your arms without too much pain. Allow me not to waver before pain, and continue to have faith in God's plans and endure." But the soldiers are shouting, "The gate is open. Arrest the traitors." Edele saying pain is fleeting, but the fruit of patience will be sweet. The commander rushed in and found her. One soldier shouts, "This is the only room remaining. Break down the door." Soldiers broke the door and found a beautiful lady sitting on a chair in front of them. They laughed. One of them said, "Ha ha ha, so the rumors were true. She really is a beauty. So even in the midst of all this mess, you're still a duchess, is that it?" A commander stepped forward, saying, "Duchess Edele Lancaster." Edele asked in disbelief, "Are you going to execute me here?" He put out his sword and pressed it against Edele's neck, saying, "No, by the order of the emperor, I will take you alive as prisoner." When did it all go wrong? Lady Edele thought inside, accepting my share of accountability in this old chair. I pondered the honor and pride of a noble. I foolishly endured through everything for such silly things, but I can't even die as I wish. The perfect lady, Edele Lancaster. She hasn't been the Duchess of Lancaster for too long. 3 years ago, at a banquet, someone fluttered, "Look over there. It's Edele Canyon," she whispered. "I heard she is engaged to the Duke Lancaster." Even if the Lancasters are one of the 4 most prominent families, it's still distasteful to marry such an old duke. Precisely. This year, the duke turned. The other lady interrupted her. "Hush, someone might hear you. More importantly, just look at how steadfast she is," she said after looking at Edele. My goodness, does this not bother her in the least? I don't know what she's thinking. Count Canyon's only daughter, Edele Canyon. There are 4 extraordinarily powerful families in the empire. Edele, raised and groomed to be married off to one of these families, finally fulfilled her purpose. And so, she lived a year and 8 months as the old duke's wife. Who could have guessed that this perfect lady was nothing more than a means to bring the 2 families together, and due to the duke's treasonous plan to declare independence from the empire, she would become the wife of a traitor? The emperor chuckled. Finally, the greatest spoils of this war. Duke Lancaster's second wife, Edele Lancaster. Edele thought, "All my life, I was born and raised for a single purpose. I collapsed where I was standing because I was too afraid to run. I couldn't bear the thought of facing my death on the floor, so I dragged an old chair over to sit, all because of my feudal honor. It may be all I have left, but still, I can't crumble to the very end." A man cackled. "Your Majesty, give the treacherous criminal to me," another clamored. "No, I probably took more enemy lives than him." "Sir, take pity on this old widower," a lady said. "Why don't we decide who gets the prisoner with a duel?" "I guess no one here has any dignity left," nobles whispered. "But it's understandable." Edele Lancaster was praised as the perfect lady of nobility. Well, she's nothing more than a slave now. All the more reason not to hold back. Emperor Demarcus Tuberine chuckled. "Moo, moo. I almost forgot about the greatest contributor in suppressing the rebellion when he's standing right here. Isn't that right? Tell me, Laslo, are you not in need of a woman? If you would like, I will give the greatest spoils of war to you." A noble whispered. "She got married to the wrong man, and now she's ruined. And that commoner, he's thriving, isn't he? He's been made a count, and now this? Why does His Majesty want to endow him, of all people, with the greatest spoils of war?" Edele thought. "From what I recall, he used to be a mercenary. Then, again, what does that have anything to do with me now?" At this point, He's no different to me than any other knight. However, the man who brought me here, Laslo Krissus, the master of the Empire's largest mercenary guild, Calliope, and the man who was made count at the young age of 27 because of his military achievements. To the traditional nobles, he is by far the biggest threat among the nouveau riche noblemen on the emperor's side. However, from what I heard, the nobles who treat mercenaries like delinquents look down on him and treat him like a commoner. Laslo said, "I'm not sure. My maids are short-handed, though." The emperor chuckled. Ha. Ha ha ha. "Are you saying you want to use the woman who was once a duchess as a maid?" He replied. "I don't have any other use for her." The emperor smirked. "Good, very good. I will endow Edele Lancaster to Count Laslo Krissus, who is in need of more maids." Edele chills, all-powerful para. Is this what I get for being patient? 3 years ago, House of Count Canyon. Edele Canyon, her mother's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "Stop being so stubborn. Do you really think you can defy your father?" Edele's fingers trembled slightly. "But mother, the Duke, he's older than father. How could I possibly marry?" "There is no better suitor," her mother interrupted coldly. "He already has a lover. His children are grown. He won't touch you." She stepped closer. "And when he dies, everything he owns will belong to you." Edele's chest tightened. "You don't even know when he'll die. I could be 30 by then." Her mother's expression hardened. "You still don't understand. When you become Duchess, even your father will bow before you. What is there to refuse about becoming the Duchess of one of the Empire's 4 greatest families?" Edele fell to her knees. "Please, father, this isn't what I want," but her fate had already been decided long ago. "How dare you?" her father roared. "Do you have any idea what humiliation I endured to secure this marriage? I did all of this for you." His eyes became merciless. "Or have you forgotten why I raised you?" Silence fell, and in that moment something inside her broke. But also, something was freed. Finally, I could escape my father. That was the only thought that allowed me to endure everything. Days turned into months. Months turned into years. I was relieved. The Duke was too busy loving another woman to ever touch me. So I endured. Despite the cold stares, despite the whispers, despite the loneliness, I managed hundreds of servants, balanced countless accounts, hosted endless banquets, and never once did I falter. I smiled, because I believed one day I would finally be free. But fate had other plans. "My lady, you must run," a servant burst into the room. "The Emperor's army has invaded." My mind froze. I didn't understand. Not yet. I was the only one kept in the dark. The Duke had committed treason. And failed. I ran through the empty halls. My footsteps echoed. But there was no one.
No servants. No guards.
No one. Out of everyone I served, only one butler came to warn me. In that moment, I realized the truth. I was never part of this family. I was only a symbol, a decoration, a tool. The perfect lady everyone praised was nothing more than an empty shell. Perhaps all the pain I endured was God's warning. But I never listened. Now I was no longer a duchess. I was a prisoner, a spoil of war, a slave in everything but name. The prison was cold,
Silent.
heavy. "Still acting like a noble, are you? Well, aren't you the incredible and perfect lady, Edele Lancaster, the second daughter of Duke Lancaster?" shouted at Edele. She complained that Edele had always acted that way from the moment she got married. Despite being sold off by her own family, Daria spat that Edele still acted like a real duchess. She accused Edele of helping her father, noting that Count Canyon had ratted on everything. "We made you the duchess, you traitor. You ungrateful wench." The insults flew as Edele listened silently. Edele thought to herself that while it wasn't the first time they had expressed disapproval, they had never been so crude before. She realized they were simply worn out and had completely given up. Gently, she told Lauren and Daria to get some sleep. She didn't want to waste her energy on a meaningless exchange of vicious words. Her mind was already elsewhere. She was waiting for a moment when the guards weren't watching closely, so she could find the energy to kill herself. She would rather die than become someone's plaything. A grim resolution. All the Lancaster men were dead, and the House of Canyon had only escaped annihilation by giving up on her. Though Count Krissus claimed he would use her as a maid, Edele knew a young female prisoner of war would hardly be treated as a human being. She realized the only reason she was in a tolerable cell, despite being charged with high treason, was because she was a gift the Emperor was giving away. Her body screamed in pain and her head ached, so she decided to sleep, hoping to figure out a way to end her life when she woke up. The next morning, as sunlight fell on her face, Edele blinked and realized that old habits die hard. Even exhausted, she had woken up early. Today was the day she would be handed over to Count Krissus, and she remained determined to find an opportunity to die. She looked at the glimmer of sunlight through the small cell window and felt as though it was bidding her goodbye. To her, the sky was unbelievably beautiful. The final departure. Her final meal was relatively lavish for a criminal, and she took each bite with gratitude, knowing it was her last. Soon, a voice called out for Lauren, Daria, and finally, Edele Lancaster to come out. Edele prayed that nothing atrocious would happen to the other girls, but her focus remained on her own goal, to remain elegant until the moment she died. As the soldiers brought them toward the carriage, Edele plotted her escape. She thought about jumping off the vehicle. If the servant wasn't watching closely, and they passed through a neighborhood with heavy carriage traffic, she hoped she might die on impact. She prayed the servant taking her would be inept, but to her surprise, Laslo was the one waiting for her at the carriage. Edele sat inside the carriage, directly across from Count Laslo Krissus. Her eyes remained lowered. I didn't think he would come to get me himself. He probably came so he could personally keep an eye on me. Her fingers trembled slightly. What if he tries to talk to me? He probably doesn't like me. After all, he was the commander of the Emperor's army. How could he look favorably upon me, the wife of a traitor? Suddenly, Laslo removed his red cloak and extended it toward her. Edele flinched. Why are you? His voice was calm. Then stopped shivering. Her eyes widened slightly. Oh, I guess my hands were trembling. That's why he gave me his cloak. Her fingers slowly tightened around the fabric. But then a dark thought surfaced. If I throw this cloak toward him, would that buy me enough time to jump off this carriage? Her breathing slowed. Yes, once I jump off, I'll be crushed to death by the carriage's wheels. I can do it. She glanced toward the door. I can hear a distant carriage approaching. I'll count to 3, and then I'll open the door. Her heart pounded.
1, 2.
It would be better if you didn't do that. Her body froze. Slowly, she lifted her eyes. Laslo was watching her. He already knew. He knows. That's why he put me in the same carriage as him. This man will definitely not leave me alone. Soon the carriage came to a stop. Laslo stepped out first. Get off. Edele looked outside. A massive estate stood before her.
Cold.
Silent. Unfamiliar. So this is it. The hell that I will be living in. She stepped down carefully, but suddenly her ankle slipped. Her body fell forward. Why doesn't it hurt? She froze. Strong arms held her. Laslo had caught her. Her face flushed instantly. I always remember what a noble lady mustn't do. Acting like you're dizzy to fall into a man's arms is cheap and vulgar. She quickly stepped back. I'm sorry. I hope he doesn't misunderstand me. Laslo said nothing. He simply turned. Follow me. Your housekeeper Marcia is taking good care of the estate, so please do not worry. Edele wondered why there was no butler answering him. Laslo then asked if they were short on maids and said there was a new maid, telling them to use her as they saw fit. He instructed them to first give her a bath, feed her, and give her a room to sleep in. Marcia looked surprised at this, but Laslo continued calmly, saying they could let her use any of the rooms that were not already in use, and put her to work starting tomorrow. Inside, Edele was confused. He did not ask them to send her to his room. Was he really using her as a maid? Marcia let out a short laugh and commented that he was as short and to the point as ever. Just then, Another maid hurried in and called out to Mrs. Bohen, asking if she had heard the news. Marcia asked what it was, and the maid, Mina, replied that she had just heard from the knight outside that the woman was Duchess Lancaster, captured as a prisoner of war. Marcia's eyes widened before she smirked, saying she could not believe she would get to order a duchess around. She told Mina to do as Lord Krissus ordered and show her to the room at the end of the corridor. Mina answered obediently, adding that she would think about what to do with the Miss Lady later. When Edele entered her room, she looked around quietly. They were kinder than she had expected. She had been given a change of clothes, and they had even brought her food to her room. She realized that people truly lived in rooms this small. Everything about the situation seemed to tell her that she was no longer a noble. She felt cold and assumed they did not allow the staff to use hot water in this house. From now on, she would probably have to bathe in cold water, even during winter. It felt strange, especially since it was not as if they had financial problems. Yet the house seemed shabby for a count's residence. She stopped herself from thinking further and reminded herself to face the reality in front of her. What surprised her more was the fact that she felt hungry after everything she had been through. She picked up a piece of fruit and tasted it. It was delicious. She had thought she would never take another bite of fruit again. She had been ready to give up on her life, but it was not because she believed death was her only option. She simply did not want to live as someone's plaything, forced to satisfy filthy desires just because she was a spoil of war. She pressed her hand against her heart, realizing she was still alive. Would she be able to taste fruit again tomorrow? Perhaps Count Krissus would not try to lay with her tomorrow either. She wanted to taste the sweet nectar of fruit again and live quietly, fending for herself. Perhaps she could lead a simple life here as a maid. She would survive and carry on, waiting for the day she could finally live in peace. While at the Emperor's castle, a servant approached hurriedly. Sir Krissus came to pick up the prisoner himself this evening. Emperor Demarcus smirked, leaning back. I'm sure he did. How did he seem to you? Did he seem like a man who has been awarded the greatest spoil of war? The servant hesitated.
What?
I wouldn't know, sir. Demarcus leaned forward, his eyes sharp. Everyone else might not know, but I do. I know the true nature of mercenary King Laslo. He signed a contract and joined the conquest last minute. He only agreed to the contract for the reward money, but he and his band of mercenaries achieved more than the knights could ever imagine. Later, Demarcus clasped Laslo's arm firmly. Laslo, tell me what you want. Anything at all. Laslo's voice remained calm. The contract explicitly says how much I am owed. I do not need anything more. Despite holding immense power, he had no interest in social status or authority. And yet, the audacity. Why, he would make the perfect dog. But to make him more than a loyal hound, Demarcus mused, he must be lured with something captivating. Making him a count wasn't enough. Yes, that encounter took place about 2 years ago, at the victory banquet. Whispers rose among the nobles. Did that mercenary really become a count? Yes, it's true. Surely, he would want to be treated as our equals. Just thinking about it makes me queasy. What on earth is His Majesty thinking? Though the man was the principal force behind the victory, he was not welcomed. In that moment, Laslo's eyes were fixed on Edele Lancaster. A gamble worth taking. Demarcus chuckled softly. Brace yourself. I've never lost a bet in gambling. At the stroke of midnight, Laslo muttered to himself. Darn that snake of an emperor. What's he after? I didn't expect the Duchess and I to cross paths like this. This is going to give me a bad headache, he thought further. The only reason I accepted the Emperor's offer and this pesky noble title was so my little sister could be married off to a decent family. Maybe I shouldn't have been so greedy. Though I became nobility, since I am of common birth and a mercenary, they will hold me in contempt anyway. He clenched his fist, recalling the ruthless reality. It's obvious how my sister will be treated in marriage negotiations. From what I've witnessed so far, noble marriages are vulgar. A father who sells off his daughter to an old man to secure connections. An old duke with a lover and grown children remarrying. And amidst these crude negotiations, The lady sold at the highest price, Edele Lancaster. Even as she was married off as a second wife, she smiled. If she truly opposed it, she would have run away. Did she exchange her youth for power out of greed? But why couldn't I take my eyes off her? Unlike me, who gained nobility overnight, she was born into it and lived her life as a noble. I thought I'd never see her again. And yet, the very same Edele Lancaster is at my house as a maid. That devious emperor, he gave me the ex-duchess as a warning to those conspiring against him.
Or something like that.
Laslo's thoughts grew darker. If I had refused her, she would have been sold off, or perhaps she might have killed herself. Those were probably her only two options. She was found in the Duke's empty castle after everyone had fled. Count Canyon severed ties to save his own skin. Both the Count and the Duke forsook her. She tried to end her life because of them, nobles, and their pride. I don't get what she's protecting by throwing it all away. He picked up a lantern, blowing it out. But if I keep her around, perhaps I might find a use for her. If she could break free from her past, her life may not be the worst it could be. The next morning, housekeeper Marcia tossed clothes angrily. Look here, Duchess. What is this? So your house used dirty rags like these? Were you too afraid to get your soft hands dirty when washing them? Edele lowered her gaze. I'll do better. Marcia barked again. Of course you will. Hey, Salia. Yes, replied Salia. Are you sure you trained her properly? Don't go easy on this one. Keep a close eye on her. This wench is a traitor from the House of Lancaster. Who knows what she might try to cook up? Another maid asked hesitantly. Are you certain there won't be any blowback? Marcia scoffed. What are you afraid of? Think the Duke will come back from the grave for his poor wife? There's nothing to worry about. Treat her however you like. Edele pressed her hand to her chest, thinking. Head housekeeper Madame Marcia Bohan, so this is what she meant yesterday. I can't believe I get to be ordered around. She wants to show everyone how great she is by overpowering a former duchess like me. She exhaled quietly. She's been like this since the moment she introduced me to the staff. Does she want me to break into tears? This is all unnecessary. Probably no one else out there is happier about the demise of the House of Lancaster. Salia muttered. She's finally gone. I can't believe she has the nerve to speak of the dead like that. Another maid, Layla, replied. Bohan being rude isn't surprising. We're busy enough as it is. Salia is in charge of the laundry room. Madame Bohan picked her to train me, a former duchess, putting her in an uncomfortable position. If we get picked on again, it makes everyone's life harder, so let's finish what's in front of us. I don't care about ridicule. The real problem is, I'm not sure I have the stamina to handle all this. But all of this is possible because I'm alive, so let's be grateful. Meanwhile, far away, Edele's father, Dustin Canyon, shouted with fury. Edele, that useless girl. She's a worthless, useless excuse for a daughter. He hit the teacup against the flower pot. The crash echoed, shards scattered across the floor. A man stormed in. William. Father. What do we do now? Edele has become that mercenary's maid. Dustin Canyon cut him off sharply. William. Don't mention that worthless girl anymore. The ingrate who doesn't even have the decency to end her own life before humiliation. After all I went through to keep this house intact, he recalled the past, his voice trembling with anger. Please believe me, Your Highness. Duke Lancaster blackmailed me into helping him commit treason. He took my daughter Edele against my will and kept her hostage. How could I, as a father, refuse him? Emperor de Marcous's eyes glinted. I see. If you insist that the House of Canyon is innocent, then I'm sure you have nothing to say about what becomes of Duchess Edele Lancaster? Dustin chuckled darkly. Why, of course, Your Highness. Once a daughter is married, she is no longer part of the family. She has nothing to do with us. I got on my knees and begged him for mercy, offering him the Duke's family secrets on top of half my assets. I survived, despite the ridicule and humiliation I suffered through. He spat the name like venom. Marcos of the Tuberine imperial family, he took the throne after his incompetent father and brought on a commoner to bolster the power of the throne. He isn't afraid of sinister and malevolent ways, so long as the ends justify the means. He's making an example out of my house to keep the high nobles in line. He turned Edele, that incompetent fool, into that dirty mercenary's toy, to tarnish the reputation of the Canyon House and to warn the other nobles. Dustin's voice hardened.
Yes.
That is exactly what he was after all along. He ground the broken teacup pieces beneath his heel, fury radiating off him. He dares ridicule me like this? Thinks he can manipulate me, the great Dustin? Then, calmer, he commanded. William, Geoffrey, keep a low profile for the time being. Since the Emperor has his trusty hound, we have nothing to fear. Yes, father, William replied. Dustin crushed another fragment beneath his foot. You just wait and see. I will build myself up again and make sure no one can ever look down on the House of Canyon, no matter what it takes. The next morning, Edele carried a bucket of cloves down the corridor. A maid called out cheerfully, Edele, wait for us. Edele turned, recognition dawning. Salia and Layla? Salia grinned. You're on your way to hang the sheets to dry, right? It won't be easy on your own. Let's do it together since we're headed there too. Edele flapped the clothes with the other maids, thinking, it's already been 10 days since I came to this house. If someone asked what I've done, I could proudly say that although I am merely a spoils of war, I worked hard as a maid in the laundry room. Because of it, I've become quite good at laundry. However, if I had to complain, Marcia's sharp voice cut through her thoughts. Hey, Duchess. Your laundry is a complete mess today. Are you ignoring me or just that dull? Edele bowed her head slightly. Excuse me, Madame Bohen. Salia stepped forward protectively. Considering she just began, she's doing quite well. I'm training her fine, so why don't you return to your station and do your own job? Marcia shouted, frustrated. What I'm trying to say, I'm the one in charge of the laundry room, Salia interrupted. We're swamped as it is, so stop this. Being busy is one thing, but then show her how it's done.
Here's a dirty rag.
Clean it. Marcia's voice lingered as she left. I may be leaving, but I'll be watching. Do your job properly, Edele whispered to Salia. Is it okay for you to say that? Salia shrugged lightly. What's not to be okay with? I didn't do this for you, so don't worry. If she keeps dropping by, it's a nuisance for us too. Edele pressed her hands together. Still thank you, Salia smiled. Don't worry. Our meals might get skimpy for a couple of days, but that's all. She's just that kind of person. Okay, we have a lot of work to do. Let's get back to it. Edele thought quietly to herself. The head housekeeper harasses me, the former Duchess. Salia helps me as if she doesn't care that I'm the spoils of war. The other maids suffer because of me. I haven't had the chance to speak to them or ask their opinion. I hope I'm not causing too much trouble. That night, rubbing her blistered hands on the bed, Edele whispered, I wonder if they're all okay. Maybe they don't have time to think about anyone else. My hands are blistered and chapped. I worry about the maids, but Count Krissus hasn't asked for me in 10 days. It's almost as if he's forgotten. I'm just relieved I can live as a maid. Would it anger the dead to think this? No, I'm just happy to be free of the Lancasters. I'll do my best tomorrow. I pray today ends peacefully. I pray the night remains calm. I hope to take another bite of an apple tomorrow. As she closed her eyes, a knock shattered the quiet. Edele jolted, eyes wide. Who could it be at this hour? It can't be, but what if Count Krissus changed his mind? Is he here to sleep with me? She rose from the bed, heart racing.
Who is it?
A soft voice came from the other side of the door. It's Daisy from the next room. Could I come in to talk to you? Edele's thoughts raced. Daisy? I heard she's the youngest maid in this house. She opened the door. Daisy smiled warmly. I'm sorry to come by so late at night, Edele thought. I've passed her a couple of times in the hallways, but we barely said hi before, she gestured. Come on in. Once inside, Edele asked cautiously. Can I ask why you're here? Daisy blushed slightly. Oh, it's nothing really. There's just something I want to give you. It's ointment and cream for when you're hurt. Edele, surprised, stammered. What? But why are you giving me these? Daisy's voice was gentle. I heard you moaning in pain every night. The walls are terribly thin here, so you hear pretty much everything. Since I'm right next door, Edele apologized, her cheeks warming.
I'm sorry.
I had no idea. Daisy waved it off. It's fine with me. I can sleep through the noise. But I heard Madame Bohen is giving you a hard time. You probably haven't got used to your work yet, and if you're in pain all the time, that can't be easy. So, I just wanted to give you these. Edele's thoughts softened. In the world I lived in, doing something just because was unheard of. I can't believe such a young girl is so thoughtful, caring about those around her. I didn't know there could be eyes so sincere, without even a shadow of deceit. Edele picked up the ointment, voice warm. Thank you, Miss Daisy. Daisy flinched slightly. Did you call me a miss? You can just call me Daisy, Edele smiled. Then you can call me Edele, too. Daisy blushed deeper. I'm not sure I can do that, then is it okay for me to call you sister? Edele nodded, smiling. Daisy hesitated, then asked, should I help you put the ointment and cream on your shoulder and back? Edele's smile was faint but polite. I think I can handle it myself. Daisy chuckled softly. You won't be able to reach your back. We're both girls, so there's no need to be shy. Edele replied, quietly grateful. Then thank you, she thought wistfully. It's a shame I don't have a diary. If I had one, I would have written that I made a new friend today. The next morning, breakfast was, as Salia predicted, a little skimpy. I told you so, Salia said, smirking. Edele glanced at the table. At least there's still fruit. Maybe it's because of the medicine Daisy gave me. My back feels a little better. I used to be forced to fast regularly to maintain my figure. This is fine. I'm sure today will be fine too. Count Laslo Krissus held a letter in his hand, reading it aloud. Dear Count Krissus, the loyal heart of a lion, he ordered firmly. Bring her to me. To the sitting room on the first floor. Now. A servant escorted Edele, and she walked slowly, thoughts swirling. He called for me out of the blue. There will be other people there, so nothing will happen, but I wonder what he wants from me. The servant stopped at the door. Go on in. Edele took a deep breath. I was sure today would be a good day, too. She entered. It's Edele. I heard you asked for me. Count Krissus's voice was calm but commanding. Take a seat. Her thoughts betrayed her anxiety. Count Laslo Krissus, I feel overwhelmed every time I see him. He leaned slightly forward, asking, let me ask you something. Are you familiar with Dowager Marchioness Barbara Celestine? Edele froze.
What?
Barbara. Wait a second. Why is he mentioning the Dowager Marchioness Celestine? Laslo asked again, curious. Do you not know her? Edele hesitated. Is it okay for him to know that she and I are acquainted? Dowager Marchioness Celestine. I do know her, but I've only had tea a few times with her. Laslo's lips curved into a knowing smile. Then it must have been some tea. Why else would that rigid woman write to me, a bloodthirsty mercenary, begging for mercy? Edele gasped. A letter from the Marchioness Dowager? Laslo handed her the letter. Edele's hands trembled as she took it. I can't believe my dearest friend Barbara wrote me a letter. I couldn't help but write to you after hearing what happened. The entire Lancaster house kept her in the dark, so she doesn't know what happened behind closed doors. Please do not push MS. Edele into an even greater dismay. So many people who used to know me as a duchess turned their backs on me, but I couldn't blame them. I was guilty of treason after all. I assumed everyone had abandoned me, but she genuinely believes in my innocence and cares for me. Edele looked up, uncertain. I thought if I endured everything without complaint, I could protect myself. But I experienced kindness and warm generosity from those who barely even know me. And now, a friend from my past comforts me. But what will Count Krissus think? What if he mistakes Barbara as an ally to the Duke of Lancaster? Her voice steady, she said, Dowager Marchioness Celestine is a very sympathetic person. Our families are not affiliated in any way, and our friendship is nothing more than a private relationship. I hope you do not misunderstand this letter. Laslo's tone softened, almost amused. Are you afraid I might hound the old lady? I don't know why everyone assumes the worst of me. Edele stood, panicked. That's not it. That's not what I meant at all. I apologize if what I said offended you in any way. Laslo watched her closely.
See?
You're trembling like I'm about to cut someone's head off. Head, I shouldn't have said that to you just now. Edele's thoughts raced. I've never seen him make a face like that. Is he sorry? To this woman, and the man who captured and slaughtered the members of the Lancaster house. She's probably disgusted by me and might even think I'm some cruel and vicious monster. And what do I say to her? Hey, you're trembling like I'm about to cut someone's head off. I can't believe I said that. You insensitive fool. I just wanted to know why Dowager Marchioness Celestine is going to such lengths for her. Laslo glanced at her, his expression unreadable. What is she thinking right now? Edele's voice was calm and composed. My lord, all you've done is follow His Majesty's orders and claim victory. It is an anomaly that I should even be alive. There is no reason you should feel uneasy talking about any of this. Laslo's thoughts betrayed his astonishment. How could she remain so composed while saying such things? She may find it difficult to blame me right to my face, but I can't even see a faint shadow of resentment in her eyes. I guess I should say she is a true duchess. Flawless composure, careful choice of words, meticulously shaped through lessons. Her ability to repress her emotions, I may be a count by title, but I remain the same man I used to be. I see. Is what I'm feeling right now shame? Laslo finally spoke, his tone measured. Anyway, I want you to reply to this letter. She wouldn't believe it if I wrote back defending myself. Edele, startled, asked. Me? She beamed with excitement. What should I say? Laslo's eyes softened. Whatever you'd like.
Oh.
I would like you to include this in your letter. Tell her I won't be treating you the way the public expects. Edele tilted her head, puzzled. The public's expectation? She spoke boldly. Oh. Please don't call for me during the night and rough-handle me. Thank you. Laslo thought quietly. What are the nobles saying about me now? I made it very clear I would use her as a maid. I have a little sister. How could they think I would do something so brutal? Those high and mighty nobles are the ones behaving like animals. How could they say such things when I haven't even held hands with a woman before? A small bird of a woman at that. 2. That's it. She may appear strong, but she's so frail you almost feel sorry for her. She can't even stand to touch a lowly mercenary like me, therefore, I shall never lay a finger on this woman. Edele smiled gently, bowing slightly. My lord. Thank you so much. Laslo's thoughts, however, were firm and resolute. Never, later, at night, Daisy shivered. It's cold. But it's not like we could skip showering because of it. Edele chuckled softly. It's too bad. Good work today, she thought. I guess they've never had hot water in this house before. Daisy knew exactly where to put the ointment to feel better, despite being so young. I wonder how long she's been working here. I should be nicer to Daisy. The two waved to each other. Good night. Sweet dreams. Edele entered her room and looked at the papers on the desk. Her eyes widened. What's that? Count Krissus sent over paper for me to write the letter on. He meant what he said earlier. I'm sorry to ask, but could you lend me some paper and pen? I don't have any, Laslo reassured her. Don't worry about that. She rushed happily to the table. What should I write about first? There's so much I want to tell her, but he'll probably read my letter before sending it out. I can't even write to my beloved and esteemed Barbara like before. She dipped her pen and began to write. Dear Dowager Marchioness Celestine, Barbara, you were always concerned for me and took such good care of me. I don't know how I could thank you for remembering me and showing sympathy to a sinner like me. I still remember the first time I met you 7 years ago at Countess Roderick's tea party. Nobles murmured nearby. Have you heard? Dowager Marchioness Celestine has arrived. I can't believe she's really here. Edele tilted her head, whispering to herself. Is there something wrong with her coming here? 2 ladies nearby murmured. Oh dear, House of Canyons. A woman grasped Edele's hand gently. Evil Edele. This is Countess Roderick's tea party. The 2 ladies don't get along very well. You'll see. They're as different as night and day. Edele tilted her head. Then why would Countess Roderick invite her? The woman shrugged. Obviously, a voice echoed through the hall. Dowager Marchioness Celestine, Barbara M. Celestine, has arrived. Edele thought. That isn't the sound of her heels. She's limping on one leg. Does she have a prosthetic leg? The sound of her walking is echoing more loudly here than it would in other halls. Is this why she was invited here? I don't know what conflict the two ladies have, but using another person's disability like this is unacceptable. Edele hurried forward and greeted Barbara warmly. My goodness, my lady. What a coincidence. Do you remember me? You helped me when my carriage broke down in town. You left refusing to accept payment, so I was hoping to see you again. I had no idea you were Dowager Marchioness Celestine. Wow, did that really happen? Barbara smiled. Yes, it did. I haven't been to many social occasions, so I failed to recognize you at the time. Another woman nearby laughed softly. The Dowager Marchioness showed such generosity, how wonderful. Edele replied gently, I appreciate you helping me back then. I hope this seems natural. I hope my over-the-top welcome is enough to cover up the uncomfortable silence, Barbara whispered softly. Well, aren't you a nosy young lady? Edele apologized, smiling. I'm sorry if it offended you. Barbara replied quietly. Not at all. Edele reflected. Back then, I was young. I was proud of myself for helping an elderly lady in trouble. Nearby nobles murmured. Have you heard? Viscountess Oberon decided to divorce her husband. Isn't the House of Oberon on the verge of bankruptcy after being scammed? I heard the Viscountess has been working as an interpreter outside the house. Don't tell me she's asking for a divorce, since she's making money. How could she hurt her husband's authority like that? The woman near Edele whispered. Oh my, after her husband was generous enough to withstand all that, she's still asking for a divorce. Perhaps she has taken a lover on the side, Edele thought quietly. I had no idea how easily the social scene can damage a person's reputation. Barbara interjected calmly. It would seem that you are much more conservative than when I was young. Barbara observed Edele quietly, her tone gentle but firm. It would seem that you are much more conservative than when I was young. Why should she be criticized for becoming successful on her own merit? Her house was like a sinking ship, so she did everything she could to keep it afloat. She wanted to do better, so she worked hard. Edele's eyes widened, surprised. What's wrong with ambition like that? Does that mean it's okay to be ambitious? There's nothing wrong with living like that. A woman with red hair laughed sharply, shouting. I think you speak too boldly. How can you compare what she does with a working man? Viscountess Oberon failed her duties as the lady of the house. Barbara interrupted with a sigh, cutting through the chatter. She is a progressive woman who earns a living to make up for what her husband failed to provide. You should all be fighting for your rights, but here you are, dragging others through the mud. Other nobles whispered among themselves. No wonder they say she devoured her own husband. Apparently, she would lecture him on his affairs since she was young. She must see herself in Viscountess Oberon, another murmured. Don't mind her, Countess Roderick. We feel the same way you do. Then shall we move on to something else now? After the hectic tea party, Edele caught up with Barbara at the main gate. Wait, Lady Celestine. Could you spare me some time? Barbara looked at her curiously. HM? What is it, Lady Canyon? Edele spoke earnestly. Earlier, I was wrong. I was out of line to feel sorry for you. I had no idea you were stronger than anyone in the room. I want to become as strong as you, Lady Celestine. Could I come visit you occasionally if you don't mind? Barbara's smile was warm. That sounds wonderful. I would love for us to have such discussions. Since then, they spent much time together, talking and learning from one another. Edele reflected. Before we knew it, we became each other's best friend. Sweet Barbara probably loved me more than anyone else in the world. Had I only taken what she told me closer to heart, perhaps things would be very different now. Barbara suddenly shouted at her, a fiery gleam in her eyes. Edele, don't ever get used to making sacrifices. Marrying the old Lord Lancaster. You must liberate yourself from the manipulative men who are trying to control you. Edele trembled, her voice small. But if I don't do as my father tells me, my only other option is death. Barbara's gaze hardened, her voice resolute. Why would you die? Please, Edele. Look at me. If you would just ask for help, I will help you with everything. That was Edele's last encounter with Barbara for the day. She thought quietly to herself, I'm sorry, Barbara. I only hoped this letter would give you some peace of mind and ease your worries. Elsewhere in the house, Marcia, the strict overseer, was inquiring among the maids. Really? Count Kenyon summoned Edele? The maid replied, Yes, Madame Bohen. But he summoned her to the drawing room during the day, and she just left right now. I guess it wasn't anything serious. Marcia, steaming with irritation, she is such a minx. She's not to be taken lightly. Just look at how Salia is taking her side. The maid giggled. Salia is sort of weird, though. The same goes for Layla and Daisy, too. Birds of a feather, right? Marcia clenched her fist. I'll have to make sure they know their place and keep their heads low. Those insolent brats who won't even pay their tributes, I'll make it crystal clear to them, a blushing maid added. About that, some of the staff have been complaining about having to shower with cold water. They even got suspicious that I wasn't showering with them, Marcia yelled. What? You kept your mouth shut, right? The maid chuckled. Of course. I made up an excuse. Warm water is a privilege reserved for you and me. Why else would I be paying 100 lingduns every month? Marcia thought happily. Yes, of course things will be just fine. Lady Linnea trusts my every word, and Count Krissus is hardly home. This entire household might as well be in my pockets, she pointed firmly. You'd better watch your mouth. If Lady Linnea finds out about this, you know what I mean, right? The maid smiled confidently. Of course. Besides, she's not interested in such things. Meanwhile, in the servant quarters, Edele handed a letter to a servant. It's the letter his lord asked me to write. Please pass it along, he nodded. I will. At the laundry, Salia was splashing water, frustrated. Why is there no end to these darn laundry tasks? She's making us do such unnecessary things, Layla sighed. I guess Madame Bohen thought something didn't sit right again, Salia asked. Where is she anyway? The reply came calmly. Well, it's obvious. Elsewhere. Marcia was brushing Lady Linnea's hair. She's probably whispering weird things to Lady Linnea again. Is that true? Marcia chuckled. Yes, my lady. Have I ever told you something that wasn't true? Leave matters concerning high society and managing this house to me. Lady Linnea turned and nodded. Okay. Please do as you told me. This estate must run perfectly, like any other house of nobility. Marcia replied sharply. Yes, my lady. Meanwhile, Daisy pounded her shoulders. Ow, my shoulders. My arms almost fell out wiping and mopping today. There isn't an inch of my body that doesn't ache. Edele smiled, encouraging. You did a great job today, Daisy. Are we expecting guests? Why did we mop down the entire house out of the blue? Daisy shook her head. We don't get guests in this house. I guess the head housekeeper's just in a mood. Edele thought quietly. Actually, she's right. It's already been a month since I've been living here, but I've never once seen a guest. Count Krissus is a nobleman that belongs to the Emperor's inner circle, and yet there are no visitors that come around the estate. Is it because of all the distasteful rumors about him? I also had a negative first impression of him. But considering how generous he has been with me and his general attitude, he doesn't seem like a terrible man. The only reason I can live this ordinary life is, Daisy interrupted, handing her some bread. Anyway, even if we don't have any guests, sometimes we do this sort of thing because of Lady Linnea. Edele jolted. What? Daisy glanced at her, offering the bread. Lady Linnea, Count Krissus's younger sister. You've heard of her, right? Here, have some bread. Edele took the bread thoughtfully. Oh, I did hear that a lot of staff quit because of Lady Linnea. Daisy continued. That's right. When Lady Linnea gets moody, it can be hard to bear. She's never had to work a day in her life, so I don't understand why she's so concerned with our work. Edele, surprised, muttered. Is that so? Daisy explained. Since he was young, Count Krissus has always made a lot of money. That's why they've never skipped a meal before. Even though they were commoners, that pretty much says everything. Honestly, if her brother worked so hard to become nobility, she could just live her life being forever grateful. I just don't understand why she's so immature. Edele reflected quietly. The Krissus siblings who became nobility overnight, and a former duchess who became a maid overnight. It's like we're perfect opposites of each other. I learned how to wash the laundry for the first time in this house. Before I learned how to do it, I didn't know anything about it. Since this is their first time in such a high place, maybe they don't really know how to lead their lives as nobles. Despite being part of the emperor's inner circle, the estate of Count Krissus was eerily quiet and strangely shabby. The count, head of the family, seemed indifferent to how the estate was run. The only lady of the house, Lady Krissus, fussed constantly over the maid's tasks. But what if it wasn't strangeness? What if they simply didn't know any better? With no butler to oversee the mansion, the head maid now wielded all the power. Edele turned to Daisy. Daisy, did the other maids quit all because of Lady Krissus? Daisy shook her head. No. Plenty of people have quit because of Madame Bohen, but if they blame Lady Krissus, his lordship gives them a proper recommendation letter. Something like, "Here is your letter of recommendation. Thank you for your services." Blushing, Daisy added, "He seems scary, but he's really nice, isn't he?" Edele thought to herself, she's right. He just seems scary at first, but he's genuinely a good person, though there are serious problems here. It wouldn't matter if the estate were collapsing, but the House of Krissus is a newly risen noble family. As long as the current emperor, D. Marcus Tabarin, remains strong, his right-hand man, Count Laslo Krissus, must serve his duty to the fullest. That means Count Krissus must secure suitable alliances as soon as possible. Perhaps through marriage. Marriage is a survival tactic in high society. Did His Majesty not offer to introduce someone suitable for him? Anyway, whoever he marries, I hope it's someone who pities me. The next day, Lady Linnea approached Edele with a scrutinizing gaze. So you're the famed Edele Lancaster? Count Krissus and Lady Krissus both summoned her unexpectedly. They didn't resemble one another much. I'm just Edele now, she said gently, since the House of Lancaster is no. I know that much, Linnea interrupted sharply. Edele's mind raced. Is she angry at me? I don't even know how old she is, probably in her late teens. She doesn't seem threatening. Linnea's tone turned teasing, almost incredulous. So I heard Duke Lancaster was an old geezer. How did you marry someone like that? Did you want to become a duchess that badly? Edele responded quietly. Unfortunately, I didn't have a say in my marriage. I had to obey if my father ordered me. That's awful, Linnea shouted. How could you call someone like that a father? Edele reflected silently. You're right, my lady. How could my father be blind to things even a young girl understands? Linnea leaned closer, her voice sharp. So then, how did you share a bedchamber with such an old man? Edele explained calmly. He had a long-time concubine, so I never shared a bedchamber with him. Concubine? Linnea echoed, startled. Edele continued. Since she was in charge of the Duke's rebellion funds, she is probably dead now as well. What the… Then what was your role in that house? Linnea demanded. Edele's thoughts drifted. Once, I was desperate to prove my worth. I believed that if I fulfilled all my duties, I could be better. But in the end, I only upheld the appearance of a perfect duchess while performing undesirable tasks behind the scenes. Foolish Edele. What a foolish life I led. Linnea whispered sharply. You. Why are you smiling like that? You're looking down on me too, aren't you? Edele, startled. Pardon? You might as well be a slave now, so why are you smiling? You were thinking I'm trying to act like the lady of the house when I'm just a lowly commoner, weren't you? Because you still think you're the perfect lady. Edele wondered, why is she yelling at me all of a sudden? Did I say something to upset her? If you would just tell me what I did wrong, I could. But Linnea cut her off. You're looking down on me. Kneel this instant. How dare you look down on your employer? Edele immediately knelt, apologizing. I am sorry. I supposed I should stand since you did not order me to sit. Linnea trembled with anger. What are you doing? Have you no pride? You are a duchess. What are you doing in front of a mere count, sister? Calmly, Edele replied, I am no longer a duchess. Pride and honor of being noble. Oh, what worthless value it has. What is the true pride and honor one must hold on to? My world has already turned upside down. Edele continued, You are my employer and my knees aren't that expensive. Linnea murmured angrily, How dare you talk back to me? Do you think I don't know what you nobles think? You mock and ridicule people after inviting them. You liars! Do you even know who you owe your lives to? My brother trained those mercenaries who ran like wild dogs and won the war for you. So then why? Edele's inner thought was clear, just as I thought. Lady Linnea is seeing the other nobles through me. Finally, Linnea shouted, Get out of my room now. I don't want to see you. Edele observed silently. She's standing at the center of the high society I left behind. She could have remained free and lovely somehow. She reminds me of you. Actually, her name is similar too. Her inner voice whispered, I don't want any more of this, Edele. She recalled a memory of her sister crying, I can't take it anymore. Edele had once comforted her. Everything will be better once you're married. If you just hang on a little more. Her sister had shouted and slapped her hands away. No. Edele, you can stand this because you and I are different. I've already endured as much as I possibly could. My life isn't worth living anymore. My little sister, who is no longer with me, Lynn Canyon. The history of the Canyon house was hardly glorious. Edele's great-grandfather, a gambling addict, had once won a parcel of land that contained a sapphire mine. Overnight, he became wealthy. Desperate for legitimacy, he offered a significant amount of gold to the emperor, who at the time struggled with financial strain. That gold bought him a title. Thus, the House of Canyon was born, not from honor, nor from valor, but from fortune and desperation. Nouveau riche nobles with neither dignity nor inherited prestige. Years ago, Dustin Canyon barked at his eldest daughter, Lynn Canyon. Have you memorized the 4 most prestigious families? Yes, father, Lynn replied carefully. The House of Duke Lancaster, the House of Duke Barrington. Wrong, you foolish girl, Dustin thundered. Lynn flinched. Years later, when Edele turned 12, the same test was given. Edele, name the 4 houses. Yes, father, she answered without hesitation. The House of Duke Lancaster, the House of Duke Barrington, the House of Marquis Tolane, and the House of Marquis Winblair. Dustin nodded in approval.
Correct.
Those 4 houses possess power and authority even the royal family cannot dismiss lightly. Never forget, you will marry into one of them. Only then will no one dare look down on the Canyons. Do you understand? Yes, father. Obedient.
Precise. Perfect.
Later, Lynn approached her sister quietly. Edele, will I become more like you when I'm 12? I feel like such a fool. You're not a fool, Edele insisted gently. But father said, you know how harsh he is with words, Edele said, smiling as she took Lynn's hand. He just wants you to improve. That doesn't mean he thinks you're stupid. Come on, let's sneak downstairs and have cookies. I'll give you some of mine. Lynn's eyes lit up faintly. And after that, Edele added warmly, we'll study together. I'll help you. With you, Lynn whispered. I'm okay with anything. But small joys never lasted long in the Canyon household. The cook soon appeared, face stern. Return to your room. Lady Lynn is not allowed snacks from today onward. She performed poorly on yesterday's test. Count Canyon has ordered that she earn back the right to sweets. Edele's eyes widened. That's too harsh. Lady Lynn, have you finished today's assignments?
No.
Then back to your room. Lynn forced a smile at her sister. Enjoy your snack, Edele. I'll be studying. Lynn. But she was already gone. Father has always been strict, but lately he's cruel. Why only to us? Why can't I do anything? Edele clenched her fists. If I grow up faster, if I become everything father desires, if I become the perfect lady, slim, graceful, dazzling, If I marry into greatness and bring him the power he craves, would Lin be spared? A sudden roar shook the house years later. Lin Canyon, you're already 16. When will you get your act together? Do you think any man, let alone one from the four great houses, would look at you? You are a waste of my money. Your sister has already debuted in society and built connections. When will you stop being an embarrassment? Edele stood frozen outside the door. If I become what he wants, could I gift that freedom to Lin? Could I endure enough for the both of us? Alone in her room, Lin knelt on the floor, belongings scattered around her. Tears fell silently. Edele, I can't do this anymore. I don't think I can ever become a noble lady like you. The only thing I want is to fly away, like that bird. And then, Lin is dead. The words echoed like a verdict. Edele stared at her father in disbelief. What do you mean? She fell from the third-floor balcony. Dustin replied flatly. An accident. That is all. Make sure no rumors spread. Accident. Edele collapsed onto her bedroom floor, trembling. Lin, why? Or, perhaps, why didn't I see it sooner? Her thoughts spiraled. I have feelings. I have thoughts. I have a voice. How much longer must I endure? I've already endured more than I ever should have. My life isn't worth living anymore. The fragile hope she had once nurtured after meeting Barbara withered completely. And just as her father intended, she married into the House of Lancaster. Lin, I thought of escaping too. But with you beside me, I believed that was enough reason to stay. No one can bear the weight of a life they never asked for. If Lady Linnea is in pain, I want to teach her how to endure. But who am I now? A former duchess. A maid. A coward who survived. My heart feels heavy. And I am furious at the world and at myself for being so helpless.